Morning and welcome. This is Brenda Meller with Meller Marketing, and I am delighted to have MirandaVonFricken in with me here today. Hey, Miranda, how are you doing today?
Hi, Brenda. How are you? You got me reaching for my essential oil. I love
Oh,
to smell wild orange before I do one of these shows.
oh, nice. That little inspiration kickoff for you or something?
Yeah, something to like awaken my senses besides coffee.
Awesome. I love it. Hey, I want to see if our audience is picking this up. It was a little bit odd when I clicked on the live stream. I pulled it up in another window, so I'm waiting for the live stream. Okay, now it's up in my other window. But it seems like there's a little bit of a delay when you click live on StreamYard to the point that you actually go live. So I like to ask our audience, this is kind of like my mic tap. Is this thing on? If you are watching this right now, could you do me a favor? Could you drop a comment below and just say hello, good morning, good afternoon? Even if you're watching this in playback later, go ahead and drop that in. And it does two things. First, it makes sure it's like the mic tap and make sure that helps us to make sure that the live stream is actually working. And I have had a couple instances of this, Miranda, where I thought the live stream was working and the baton was dropped between me passing it from StreamYard to LinkedIn, or LinkedIn didn't pick it up, or I don't know what happened. So whenever that happens, I always like to pull up the broadcast from wherever it is going, if it is YouTube, and then reshare it out. It looks like we've got some folks watching. I see there's 12 people right now. Nobody has left a comment yet. Oh, wait.
Marsha did. I see Marsha. Hi, Marsha. Hi, Kenneth.
So we've got some folks coming in. All right. It looks like we are live and loud and clear. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Marsha, for dropping that comment in. And my very good friend Kenneth Lang is watching as well. All right. So we're going to get into this great conversation today. You can see the topic right above it, how to bootstrap your business as a newbie entrepreneur. I'm super excited about this and learning some great tips from Miranda. Before they do that though, Miranda, there's probably some folks that are learning about you for the very first time. So why don't you tell us who you are, what you do, and how you help people?
Oh, great question. Thank you, Brenda. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is MirandaVonFricken. You can find me on LinkedIn, of course. I'm a female entrepreneur who is changing the world. Let's get specific about that. So I am a speaker, a strategist, and a coach. I started as a career coach back in the day, and I've transitioned into now life and business coaching. My speaking side of the business is all about self-leadership. So this is a really great foundation for the conversation we're about to have. This bootstrap and newbie entrepreneurs, self-leadership is so important. And the way I do all of my work is on LinkedIn. I love the LinkedIn platform. I manage some company pages for small businesses and entrepreneurs, and I have a real passion for personal branding. Ultimately, it's helping female entrepreneurs how to express and elevate their voice in life and on LinkedIn.
Awesome. I love it. And I feel like we're going to learn so much from you here today. So we're going to jump right into the conversation. And if you're just joining us, we're talking today about how to bootstrap your business as a newbie entrepreneur. All right. So Miranda, let's say there's a female entrepreneur or a would-be entrepreneur who's watching this show right now. And she's thinking, I want to get started, but what do I need to do? Like, what are the basics on getting started, or what do I need to be aware of as I'm going on this path towards entrepreneurship?
It's funny. At first, you may think I'm going to give you all the list of tools to use, but honestly, the biggest tool is our brain, right? Like we already know everything we need to know, not about business, but about our services and our gifts that we offer. So I would just get really clear on how you're going to do that. How do you want to serve? Who do you want to serve? So get really clear on the who and the why and the mindset of being an entrepreneur, because that honestly is a lifelong learning journey. And creating some really strong foundations for yourself along that self-leadership line. So when I work with newbie entrepreneurs, a lot of it is on their foundation, right? Mm-hmm. The habits they have for themselves, the environment that they work, separating our workspace from our life space, especially when we have a home office. Like my kid's getting on the bus right now. I can hear her knocking.
I did hear it. It's funny how you think like when we're on these shows, you're like, oh, I'm sorry, my dog's barking. And like, I didn't hear a dog barking, but I mean, it's the reality of the world we're living in, especially I think in the entrepreneur space, we've all been work from home forever. So it's like, oh, cool, a dog barking. What kind of dog is it? You know, it's not a big deal. Yeah. So
remember the beginning, we got so offended. Like we were always like, oh my God, my dog's barking. We would get so nervous about it. Now it's like, whatever, my kid just walked in, you know, with the towel on, and I'm like, dude, we're on camera. What are you doing?
You got to just roll with it. I mean, we're all human beings. I think we got to give each other some, leniency with that. Yeah.
And especially as a newbie entrepreneur, if you're hopping on Zooms and having calls or discovery calls with potential clients, we get really nervous. But honestly,
Mhm.
like, we're all human. We all just put, our pants on one leg at a time. And I feel like we forget that, especially entering
Mhm.
into business. We all, if we're like, we were 9 to 5ers, or we're having a whole new business starting from scratch, we start to get really nervous. The whole feeling of like, can I do this pops up, which is why I
Mhm.
say our foundation is so important. Like, the biggest tip I can give people is to get yourself a really strong routine, whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon or in the evening. It doesn't matter when it is, but a really strong routine where you're focusing inward, right? For me, my faith is my foundation. So I start every morning with a strong prayer and meditation. And then if I'm feeling it, I'll work out, and grab a cup of coffee. But getting myself right, managing my energy is so key, because there's going to be a lot of
Mhm.
craziness that pops up as an entrepreneur. And if we don't have the energy and the strength in our core and in ourself to really handle it, we're just going to freak out and get overwhelmed. And that doesn't help our life or our business.
Yeah, and I've heard so many people talk about this, establishing a routine as a part of, because there's no boss that's telling you where you need to be, and there's
Uh,
not any group meetings that you need to be on. There's your schedule's not driving you as it was in corporate. It's more like you have to determine your time, and that time management is on your lap. Otherwise, and if you don't manage it, otherwise you're going to get to 3 o'clock every day and go, "What did I even get done today?" Right?
I remember in the beginning, I was
Mhm.
actually laid off from my last position right before the
Mhm.
pandemic. So it was kind of out of, like, I had been a side hustler for years. So I dabbled in my business when there was time, or, over the summer. But then all of a sudden we just got really big.
I know I got to shift. I just shifted. I should have told you in the pre-show. I'm going to shift us at some point. Hey, shift is happening.
No, close up. But yeah, so and all of a sudden went from, I'm a 9 to 5er. I was in human resources for about 15 years, and I
Yeah.
had an obvious structure. You get in, you get coffee, you take a lap, you high five the people, you sit down, you check your email. So I had excuse me, I had a really like strong structure. But then when I became an entrepreneur, all of a sudden I was like, I sit, I get the coffee, I watch television. I
Yeah.
may check my phone for some social, and
Do the
it was really
dishes, throw a
hard for
load of
me.
laundry in,
Yes,
like.
it was hard to get that structure in place. So I finally said to myself, like, all right, I have to I hated corporate life. Like, it just wasn't for
Yeah.
me. But I did pull some of the things that would serve me as an entrepreneur. So one tip or task for you today, homework, if you're a newbie entrepreneur, although you may not have enjoyed your business or your company, what is it about the day that keeps you in line, right? That keeps you in
Mhm.
check. And for me, it was always like, oh, we had a meeting right before lunch. Right? Me and my managers would sit together. We'd have a meeting before lunch, and I talked to my assistant about, like, all right, how was your day so far? Or in the morning, we'd have this like motivational minute.
Mm.
So first thing in the morning, I'd say to myself, all right, what are my intentions for the day? What are the top 3 things I need to get done? And I use something very inexpensive, Post-its.
Oh my
I swear
gosh.
I should be sponsored by 3M.
Right? I've got
I know,
like
and they're
a
here
ton
in
of them
Lincoln too. We
here.
have an
I hear
office.
you.
Every time I talk about Post-its, the local organization's like, we love Post-its. I'm like, of course you do.
Right. Yeah.
But honestly, it was, and they're all different sizes and shapes, and it's hilarious. I use them for different things. But even still, as a not so newbie entrepreneur, something little like Post-its really can keep me in line because of the colors. So I'm attracted to it. And I put little squares while you have to check things. And I love check marks. So little things like that I took from my 9 to 5 life and incorporated it here in my entrepreneur life. And some other things, of course, which were corny, were like reviews. But I actually
Mhm.
review myself
Do you?
as the business owner. I'll say, all right, once a quarter, I review the business and my goals, but then I review myself, right? Like,
Mhm.
not did I come on time and did I finish projects, but it was more like, am I aligning my actions with the goals I set for myself in the beginning of the quarter?
Yeah.
And how's my attitude? How is my mental health? How's my passion and energy for the business I'm running? And is it still serving me just as much as it's serving them? So I'll
Mm.
review myself, and I got to tell you, I give myself a raise every time.
I mean, I think you've probably been employee of the month at least a few times, I would
I
assume.
mean, at
Right?
least
It's funny when you
every
talk
time.
about like there's many things I don't miss from corporate, and many things I did really appreciate learning from, but like the
Yeah.
annual performance reviews, I feel like they ultimately boil down to check plus, check, or check minus. Check minus, they were
Yeah.
trying to put you on a performance improvement plan or get you to exit the organization. Check, everybody got a check pretty much. And then the check pluses were in line for a promotion or moving upward.
Right.
And, I now joke with even my clients. I say, I don't get performance reviews anymore. So your feedback is really important to me. So tell me what you liked about the LinkedIn team training and tell me what you think I could do to improve myself. And then if they're like, this was amazing, they're jumping up and down. I'm like, hey, how about a LinkedIn recommendation? So do you use testimonials as one of your processes, Miranda, for
100%.
evaluating yourself?
Mm-hmm. Of course, absolutely. So I am a huge fan of getting testimonials, and it's one of the big things I educate when I teach for LinkedIn, even for job seekers. Like if your boss says to you, wow, you did a really great job today, I think you did so well in that project, or a partner, collaborator within the project, say to yourself, great, can you tell LinkedIn? Yeah. Is literally what I say. Can you tell LinkedIn? I'll actually send you a request. And they're always like, oh my gosh, of course, because they're not going to say no. They're not going to say, I don't know. If they're not on LinkedIn, then we have to have a different conversation. But if they're saying no, then that's kind of odd, right? So they're definitely going to say yes, absolutely. Would love to recommend you. I can send you something. And as for clients, if they're happy, not only do I say, can you put it on LinkedIn so future clients can see it? I'll say, can you shoot me a video or a voice memo?
Nice.
Kick it up a notch. Then what I say to them, if you send me a video or a voice memo, because some people are nervous about writing, like, what do you want me to say? Blah, blah, blah. I'll say, send me a voice memo with how great this experience was. And then I will type it up for you with the little key points. And then you just copy and paste it in LinkedIn. And they're like, wow, that's easy. Absolutely.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Yeah. So I have some voice memos that are like, you're awesome. I effing love this. And I'm like, okay, I can't put that on LinkedIn.
Right.
But I'll pull out, the good stuff and put it on LinkedIn for them, obviously, to copy and paste and tweak if they want. But it's their words, but it's easier for them to say it in a voice memo or even on video.
I love how you're giving them like these different techniques, but then you're helping to kind of like polish it off for them. And then here's what you would use that for a LinkedIn recommendation. And if you're just joining us, I'm talking with MirandaVonFricken today. And our topic, I'm trying to pull it up on screen. I'm doing a very poor job of multitasking. Here we go. It's how to bootstrap yourself as a newbie entrepreneur. And we're starting by talking about a little bit of the mindset and then somewhat of the routine and methodologies that Miranda has herself used as she has scaled up her business. And there was a few things that you had mentioned when I had booked you for this show, this whole concept of done better than perfect. So I imagine a lot of us are trying to like, okay, I'm not going to launch my website until it's perfect. I'm not going to like put my new business on LinkedIn until it's like exactly what it should be. I mean, what are your advice for people that are really focusing on that perfection element? What do you think?
Say knock it off, because there's no such thing as perfect. Like perfect means you're done, right? Yeah. In business, we're never done, right? In life, we're never done. And if we're done, we're dead. So let's just automatically take the word perfect out of our vocabulary and change it to fabulous or something. Like change it to another word that makes you feel like it's ready to be presented. When I say done better than perfect, I mean, of course, like there's no perfect, but putting it out there, even with a typo, not that I believe in typos, but
right.
Use Grammarly, it's free. But I'm a huge fan of at least something's out there, right? And it's going to get some traction, and then you can grow from there. Like people always say to me, I don't even know what to say on LinkedIn. Like I have a profile. I don't have the banner photo is like a tree in my backyard. Like I don't know what to put on it. I don't know what to say in content. And as for like the banner, that's a whole different conversation. I use Canva. There's a free option. However, there's so many free resources. But like as to what to say, because they feel like they're not an expert yet, you don't have to be an expert. Just have experience. And we all have experience. And that's the difference between done and perfect. I look at it as experience versus expert. Like I love working with experts, but if they're not training and learning still from other experts, then they're not the best, right? I take LinkedIn courses all the time from people because I want to see what they're learning, how I can incorporate it into my teachings. And it gives me inspiration to learn from, like doctors have doctors. I just put that post out the other day, which is like, hello, like, of course you can self-diagnose, but sometimes you need somebody else to take a look at your stuff. So I'll always say like, hey, what do you think of my banner? What do you think of what I just put out today? Like I'm not because I'm insecure by any means, but because I value other people's opinions and people will value yours as well. So put out the content, get the website going. Honestly, if you're a newbie entrepreneur, don't pay for the website, get a LinkedIn company page. It's free, right?
That's true.
Yeah, it's free. Like, why wouldn't they use it?
Yeah. And it's almost like a stepped approach. And you and I were talking, we did like a prep call, I don't know, about a month or so back. I'm like, what do we want to talk about? We were kind of brainstorming. And I feel like you and I share the same methodology. We don't want to like drown ourselves in expenses before we even have revenue, right? But I mean, there's like this a little bit of like, when do you invest? And in you know, like you just said right now, you don't need a website in the beginning. You can have a LinkedIn company page, and then maybe eventually you have a website. So what are your thoughts there, Miranda, on how do you know when it's time to invest, and what should you invest on early on? Where do you need to spend that money?
So I love to say invest to impress, right? So if you're not at the point where you need to be impressive yet, you don't have to invest big bucks, right? And the level of investment is your level of, impressment, right? So I invest heavily in the beginning on mindset coaches, on my life coach, right? It had nothing to do with business, because I knew my foundation was where I needed to. Like, if I don't have a solid foundation for confidence in myself and belief in what I'm about to embark on, then it's going to be shaky and wobbly. And if something comes out of the left field, like a client wants a refund or something, I'm going to freak out and I'm going to quit my business. I can't tell you how many clients say, like, I'm just going to quit. I haven't had a client in like 6 months. My savings is dwindling. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, you're not going to buy another course on online courses. Like, like that's not the right thing to invest in. Invest in yourself first and foremost, right? So whether that is maybe, you need a laptop to do work and you don't have a laptop, right? How are you going to get online if you don't have a laptop? So some of them are smart investments that are kind of obvious. And some of the investments are really personal. And I 100% talk about investing in a coach first and foremost, especially if it's just a strategy session. Like, as coaches, we have like these huge, $1,000 packages, but we also have one-off sessions, right? So try to invest in someone who will get your mind right and put you on a path, because it's hard for us to map out our own path because we have no idea what we're doing in the beginning. We're like, I want to change the world. Great. Reverse engineer that.
and we got no boss saying, hey, that's not the right way of doing it. That's not how I mean, a lot of it is, and I don't know if you feel the same way, Miranda, but a lot of it is like, you want to prove to yourself that you can do this on your own without having to rely on other people. And you don't want to reach out and say, I don't know how to do this. And it becomes, it makes yourself a little bit vulnerable. And then people are like, what is this, like a house of cards that's all going to crumble? Like, this isn't a legitimate business. Yeah. I love what you said about investing in a coach. And I think sometimes like finding other people who are like you at different phases in your business to become like almost like a sounding board or accountability partner. What do you think about that?
100%. So accountability is actually my third pillar when I coach. First, it's foundations, then it's systems and structures, and then accountability. There's ways for us to hold ourselves accountable. Post-its is a part of that for me. And then, there's other people, and it doesn't have to be a coach, right? Like, because I know if we're super newbie, we may not have any money to invest. Yeah. So you find a biz bestie out in the world who is at the same level or at the close, similar level to you, and you hold each other accountable. So my biz bestie is a local woman here, and we would go to the local Panera, which is a coffee house. I don't know if you've had it in your area.
We have them here too. Love Panera. Yep.
We would once a month go to Panera with our notebooks because we didn't have like all the systems, and we would just say, hey, what'd you do this month? First, let's celebrate some wins, right? First and foremost, we're celebrating our wins for the month. And then from that point forward, we would say, what are our goals for the month? Or what did we accomplish last month that we may need to carry over or let go of? And we just and so I have a master's in motivation and a background in life coaching. So I have a lot of like the mindset, human performance type background. And so easily I come up with really good questions to ask her, but then she'll be like, great, now answer them for yourself. And I'm like, oh, snap.
Right. Well, that was a question for you, not for me. Like, you misunderstood, right?
But I mean, even as a coach, I can't coach myself. I mean, I do pretty well, but I still have blocks that I need somebody else to get me through. So I have to work with other women. I have multiple coaches that I work with, from energy healers to business coaches and high level strategy. And if I didn't have each and every one of those women that I work with, a part of me would kind of like fall to the left, kind of be like, like it's not coming up with me. So mindset, energy, structures and strategy, but the accountability piece is key. You don't need to hire somebody to keep you accountable. And if you're like, so when I started as an entrepreneur, my biz bestie actually is a 9-to-5er. She's a broadcast journalist here. So her side hustle was more of just like a podcast she did for fun. But it was hard for me to find other entrepreneurs. I was a 9-to-5er. I didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial household. I didn't know where to start. And so I actually just went online and looked for female entrepreneurs in my area and saw what networking events they went to, saw what, maybe co-working spaces they were a part of. Get around the people that are doing what you do, because you'll have similar conversations. I remember going a weekend away with my girlfriends who were all 9-to-5ers. I met them at former jobs, and they were, we're talking around in the circle, and we're each like either complaining or venting about work or what we love about it. And they get to me and I'm like, I'm writing a book. And they're like, what? Like, they couldn't relate to what I was talking about. You're reading a book. Like, are you kidding me? They thought it was awesome, but that was kind of it. I was like, good for you. That's awesome. Like, so I had to find a circle of people writing books so I could be like, I'm stuck with this. And they'd be like, oh, you got to do this to get through it, or try this. And I'm like, thank you. So keep all your 9-to-5 friends, of course, if they're awesome, but like find other people who are going where you're going and get in rooms that are talking about the things you want to talk about. So then you don't feel alone, right? Because entrepreneurship can be pretty lonely if you are a solopreneur, so, and in the beginning, we're all solopreneurs who can hire a team right away.
Right. Yeah. That's true. So, and a lot of people don't think, I mean, if you leave your corporate job, and I had, a team that I worked with, I had somebody who was helping with admin work, executive assistant type of a thing. And they didn't have it. So then, like, for me, I got a Calendly, because Calendly was like the replacement for somebody managing, appointments and calendars and things like that. And I know you had talked about, when we had chatted earlier, you had talked about, you have some different, not so high tech ways of organizing and growing your business. So share with us what your tips are there. Yeah.
So less fancy, more function. So for me, like, it's not even that I couldn't afford it, but I didn't want to pull from like my household money to do the business yet in the beginning, especially after being laid off. You're kind of like pinching where you can. So we mentioned Post-its. I know it sounds corny, but that's super cheap. Post-its and notebooks kept me organized in the beginning for quite some time. Excel sheets kept me organized for quite some time with my budgets and what I'm spending and clients. I don't have a CRM still. 5 years into this, I don't have a CRM. So sometimes Excel sheets, sometimes still notebooks. I have a couple different notebooks and a whiteboard. Like, these are like, go to Walmart, buy notebooks, Post-its, and whiteboards, and you can be really organized for a couple of years. I didn't have a website in the beginning. I used LinkedIn. I didn't have a company page because they weren't as sexy as they are now.
Right. Not like they are now.
Not like they are now. So I used LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram is some places where I went out and did sales, right? I didn't really sell though. I just kind of drew people in with my personal brand and just my kind of silliness that they were attracted to. And then I put names on a whiteboard. Anybody who said like, I'd love to have a coffee chat, or, I could use some LinkedIn help. Great. I'd write your name in a different category. And I still use my whiteboard to this day. My vision board is still.
Same. I've got my whiteboard. I have like a revenue goal that I look at every single day. And, I watch that, and I think it implants something. But I love, it's like this ease of use, because sometimes technology, it can be great, but then you got to go into the CRM. You got to open it up. You got to remember your login. Oh, I forgot my password. And sometimes you create these hurdles. Whereas the whiteboard, you just grab a dry erase marker, right? And you go to town there.
It's funny too. You mentioned revenue. And I think early on in the beginning, money kind of freaked me out. Like, I was afraid to look at the numbers. And that's something, if I could go back and change a few things, it would be that I would find like somebody who could help me not be afraid of the numbers right away. Because so what I did was, and there's still an importance to focusing on the numbers, because you have to make money as an entrepreneur. But what I did was, instead of looking at revenue, I would look at how many lives I could potentially change, right? So that took away some of the fear and got me accustomed to like looking at numbers. Like, all right, I had 13 calls this week. 5 of them could be potential clients, but I really want to work with these 3. So I started getting used to like certain numbers in my business, but I was still afraid of the finances. Like, I would write down, obviously, if somebody paid me and who owed money and all that good stuff. And I used like PayPal back in the day, so it was like, let me check my PayPal account. And that was great. But I never had financial goals. Like, I did want to get back to my 6-figure earning after losing my 9-to-5. But I more looked, and I taught this when I was a sales leader back in the day. I would tell them, don't worry so much about how many people say yes to you. to be able to get the commission, how many people are saying yes to the conversation? So that really helped me. And this is where my mindset really helped, was how many awesome conversations did I have, which is actually the name of my LinkedIn live show, Awesome Conversations.
Awesome. Love it.
And obviously I brought it with me. But like, how many of those conversations had an impact on people or myself? And that started to boost my confidence a little bit. And then eventually a business coach says to me, like, what do you mean you don't know your numbers? Like, what do you bring in monthly? And I'm like,
yeah,
whatever comes in.
Right. I mean, and I love how you talked about the Excel spreadsheet. And I was the same way in the beginning of my business. I didn't have any fancy accounting software or anything. Eventually I got QuickBooks. And then I remember I was like I'm a marketer. I'm not like an accounting person.
Right,
so I remember I'm like, I need a QuickBooks coach. Like, I don't want to outsource it, but I want somebody to tell me, am I doing things right? And I found somebody local. He's brilliant. He helps me to do reconciliation every month. And he just helps me come tax time and whatnot. Yeah. And one other thing I wanted to share, we don't get you said done is better than perfect. We don't get these things 100% right. You mentioned PayPal, and I have to like share this story with you. So within PayPal, you have to go into PayPal and see like if you have money in there, and then you have to manually like request that they download it to your checking account. For the longest time, I had money sitting in my PayPal account. People were paying me. This is like embarrassing to admit, but somebody else. Okay, this happened to you too.
It'll help somebody. It'll help someone.
People were paying me inside my PayPal account, and I hadn't checked it, and it was like a couple weeks. And I had money in there that I wasn't pulling out of PayPal. I was like, oh my gosh, I was looking at my revenue for the month. I'm like, why is my checking account not reflecting what I think I'm at? I'm like, oh my gosh, there's money in PayPal.
That happens to me with Venmo, right? So we have PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, like all the accounts. And I was big on PayPal, but then someone said, do you have Venmo? I was like, no, but I'll get it, whatever.
Yeah.
So then I forgot that they had paid me. And I went back like months later because somebody else said, do you have Venmo? And I'm like, wait a minute. Didn't that other person just came? So I'm like, whoa, secret money.
And you had money. Did you have money sitting in your Venmo that you didn't pull out?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not just me, because I'm like, I don't want to admit this, but maybe somebody else has had this. I mean, there's little mistakes that you make along the way. And even things like, like you said, like waiting to set up the website. Like, people might be like, oh my gosh, mind blown. I didn't know I didn't have to have a website in the beginning. But, the other thing is knowing your numbers, and whether you're tracking the number of outreaches you've done, or I don't do cold outreach, Miranda. I don't know about you, but I do like LinkedIn connections. So I look at how many new connections have I sent out for that week, and how many have accepted. And I always like to try to get conversations started. And it might be also looking at how many prospects, how many new inquiries have I had for my business this week. But I think really knowing your numbers is important. Is that something you still focus on now as much as when you were starting your business? Or?
So actually, one thing I've incorporated, because there was a month I brought in like $5. I swear to God. And not really $5, but it was a really, really, it was like the smallest amount ever. And I went back to say, like, what did I quote this month and what didn't come in? And I had quoted $24,000 worth of business that month. And I was waiting for those yeses and confirmations. So being able to track the quotes versus the books, like quoted versus book with me, actually became really cool for me. It boosted my ego, of course, to be like, oh, all these people came to me and I put out $24,000 for the quotes.
You feel good, but
you feel good. But then you're like, crap, only like, 4,000 came in. Like, what's the big difference here? And super early on, maybe I quoted, 500 and only 100 came in. Like, it doesn't matter the number per se, but to look at the fact that X amount of people came to you and you quoted that much, like that is a foundation of you being able to make money. People are coming to you. They want to give you their money, whether they do or not. That's on them. That's not on us. Like, we did our part. We got them to the point where they said, I want to work with you. What does it look like? And here's, send me a proposal. And so it actually helped me. It didn't help my husband, because he was like, wait, where's that money?
Right. We don't have the money. So it's not.
Wait, where's that 24 grand? But it said to me, there's a flaw in my system of follow-up. So that's actually what it taught me, was that I now need to do did I disappear? Sorry. It's snowing here, so my service is wonky.
No, you're fine. I can still hear your audio. It's weird because the video froze up, but the audio is still working just fine. But it's funny that you talk about this, because I had like that early on too. I felt like really guilty reaching out to people and saying, I sent you a proposal. Do you want to work with me? Like, I felt like guilty, like that. And in my mind, I'm thinking, they either reviewed the proposal again and they're like, she's too expensive, or I don't think I'm going to get value out of this, or I don't know if she knows her stuff. It's the imposter syndrome playing around in my head. And I met with someone, Tammy Pereira, I'm going to give her a shout out, but she told me, she's like, that's your money. You need to go after it. You need to like assume they're busy, do the polite check-in, and keep doing the polite check-in until they say no, thank you, or reach out in 6 months or something. Like, that's your money. Right. So do you have a system in place now, Miranda, that you do outreach, and tell us about that?
Sure do. So I have a sales coach now because I'm a grown up and I should learn how to do sales. And so we actually last year changed. I no longer send proposals until I get a yes, I want to work with you. So if you're spending 20 minutes on a phone call with me, the odds are you've already realized you want to work with me. I put my prices on LinkedIn. Actually, they're not on the website yet, but I'm redoing the website. So there will be pricing. I'm very transparent about my pricing and what it's like to work with me, because I don't want to waste your time or mine hopping on a 30-minute call to get to know each other if we're not going to work together. Like there's women I've worked with that I couldn't afford in the beginning, and I knew what it cost to work with them. So I just kept following them, using all the free stuff, and then saving in my mind, like, I'm going to work with her someday. So I kind of want to gift that to the people following me too. Like, you can work with me. You just have to get there, right? Use all my free stuff, right? This conversation is going to be super useful for newbie entrepreneurs. And some of them may not be able to work with me today because I can't afford it, but that can be on their vision board, right? Like something to work towards. But yes, so my structure now is we get on a call. You already know my pricing. And if you didn't see it or happen to find it, you'll ask. I tell you right away, it's this much money. This is what it includes. And this is the scope of our work together. And here's what I expect from you, the client. Yeah. How does that sound? Right? That's literally what I say. How does that sound to you? What does your body do when you hear that? If I'm watching their body language. Sometimes they're like, oh, they'll sink down. Sometimes they're like, oh, okay. And so I'll watch their body language, which is my cue for the next line, whether it's like, how do you feel? I see your body slumped. Tell me what's going on in your mind. It doesn't mean I can't coach you on the spot in the next 5 minutes. So I get a little bit. And if they're like, oh, okay, I'm like, fantastic. So the next step is for me to either send you an agreement or an invoice. Where are we going with?
Right. Do you want a fancy contract? I mean, I do the same to my clients. I'm like, do you prefer a legal contract? I can send you one if you'd like, or if you're okay working off of invoice, I can send you that. And here's kind of payment terms. Sometimes it's 50% down and whatnot. But I think you have to get comfortable in your own skin, asking for the sale. And I don't want to say assuming the sale, but
I was just gonna say that, assume the sale.
It's kind of like, it's a little bit of consultative, because what I heard you say is you put the proposal, you kind of say, here's what it costs, and here's the different elements. How does that sound to you? So you're getting a little bit of buy-in. It's almost like playing tennis. You're throwing a ball over the court and you're seeing if they return the serve.
That's what I call. So they're little yeses. I try to get 3 little yeses. Yeah. But in the beginning, it's like, you reached out to me, like, what made you reach out? And they're like, oh my gosh, I love your energy, or I want to learn LinkedIn. And I'm like, oh, so LinkedIn is important to you. Yes. Get them to say the word yes. So they're in the yes mode.
I love
and this isn't like sneaky. I remember in the beginning, so I was a sales director as one of my like first bigger jobs. And I remember it was actually the only job I got fired from because I wasn't good at it, because I just gave stuff away. But I get to do that now. I learned a big lesson, and it was getting those small yeses to get them in buying mode. And it's not a trick. It's the psychology of it, right?
It's psychological. Absolutely.
They came to me. They want to work with me. Don't let money stop you. Like, I'm not a big conglomerate. We can do payments, right? It's okay. Like, so I have people that even on one-on-one coaching will do like 1,000 down, and then like every month a different amount until they're paid up, kind of thing. And we don't finish until they're actually paid up. So I have things that protect me as much as they do help them. I don't want money to be a huge barrier for newbie entrepreneurs.
You want to get paid though. You don't want to be chasing after people, right? Yeah.
My time is valuable to me, right? So even like once in a blue moon, I'll do like a free thing, but there's always got to be an ROI for us, the business owner, especially for my newbies out there listening. You'll be asked to do a lot of free things because people are cheap and they want to take advantage of you.
People will take free every day. Every day people will take free
all day. Right. So the first thing I said, my first lunch and learn like 8 years ago, I got $125 and she thought it was pricey. She tried to negotiate down. I was like, get the hell out of here. It's $125.
$125 for a lunch and learn. Oh my goodness.
And I literally said, I want $125 and I want you to have lunch for me. Right? Like it's a
right.
lunch and learn. Let's lunch first. And I want that sandwich.
Yes, right.
So it was hilarious. And most people don't, like, they eat while they're learning. That's the whole point of a lunch and learn. But I was like, nope, book it 15 minutes ahead so I can go in, have my sandwich and my soda, whatever. And then I will teach you from there. And she laughs and she's like, absolutely. And then I remember one time jokingly saying to somebody, I'll work for Starbucks gift cards. And they were like, seriously? And I'm like, not really. I said, but coffee's expensive. And I love fancy coffee. So I said, like, how about a $50 Starbucks gift card that'll last me the week? And they were like, sure. But it was free. They wanted me to speak for free. So I try not to do anything for like super free. Like, what can I get from them to be of value to me that will help me in life? Maybe even it's bartering, right? Like maybe I'm going into somebody's group and educating them on LinkedIn. Well, can they come to my group and educate on whatever their expertise is, right? So try to find some type of benefit. And the benefit may just be that I'm getting in front of people that I never would have met before. So I typically will do like X amount of free things per year, maybe one a quarter, so 4 a year. And I say to myself, like, would I have found these people somewhere else? And maybe I wouldn't have. Or if it's local, I'm probably going to find them at the local chamber. So maybe local things, we don't do, often for free. But it's also nice if you don't have anything on the calendar and it's going to give you practice as a newbie. It's okay to say yes. And then maybe say to them, like, jokingly, I work for pizza.
Well, and even being in front, I mean, sometimes letting the audience know, I'm doing this as a favor to Sheila at the Troy Chamber. I'm not being paid, but your payment to me could be taking a picture and posting it on LinkedIn today and telling people something that you learned by watching me. So you're building up an audience and a base of people.
Or the membership. Right. So if it's for a chamber or another networking organization that charges a membership, say to them, I will 100% do this for free, but actually I would prefer to have a membership. Can you barter a membership? And chamber memberships are like $600 or something. And so that's way less than I would get paid, but it's also one less expense I'll have, and I'll have access to their members for the rest of the year. So
that's a really good point. And it's interesting that you talk about this, too. I think the more confident you get in yourself and your business, the more likely you are to try to negotiate things when they are non-paid to try to get something of value. And now I very rarely speak for free unless it's with an organization that I hold an affiliation with. And even then, if I'm speaking for free, I don't do a slide deck anymore. I'm not going to do a slide deck if you're not paying me. I will do a live presentation on LinkedIn, make sure I have Wi-Fi access. I'll do a one-page handout. And at the end of the presentation, I'm going to give an overview of my services to promote and to sell myself. I'm also going to, if it's a live in-person event, I'm going to bring my books and I'm going to sell my books. Is that okay with you? And if they say no, I'll be like, if anything changes, you know where to find me. Thank you for reaching out. And I'm comfortable walking away. Are you the same way? I mean, are you finding some situations you walk away from because they're just digging their heels in the no payment, no benefit?
Absolutely. I just found out last night at an event I was at that I have like a verbal proposal out with an organization. And I just heard that they booked someone else for free because I wouldn't do it for free. And they were going to go check with their board and see if they could afford me. And I'm like, you could afford me, knock it off. I actually gave them a huge discount because they're local and they are an active client of mine. So they're already used to paying me for stuff. Yeah. And I found out they took someone else, a newbie, which is actually, I was
it's fine. And the newbies will, I mean, we're talking today about being a newbie entrepreneur and you'll do a lot of unpaid at the beginning of your career. At the point that you start to feel like, I really should be getting paid for this, you know that you've crossed over that threshold. You're no longer a newbie. You know your value. And it's okay. And hopefully we're giving people some tips here, Miranda, that they're going to get comfortable with those uncomfortable conversations. I usually start it with, well, as you know, I'm no longer a corporate employee, so I don't get a paycheck like you do. Yeah. My paycheck is when I do my speaking engagements or when I do, these coaching sessions or things like that. Right. So if there really is no budget, do you have budget for other events? That's one question to ask. And
my company does have a budget. So I worked in human resources. They all have budgets, right? There's a super large organization in my area. It's like a huge name. If I said it, you'd probably die, and I can't say it out loud. They said they did. So it's International Women's Month or National Women's Month, but International Women's Day is coming up, and I'm an International Women's Day speaker on the website. I was just listed on there about 2 months ago, and so I'm super pumped about it. So I put the post out, and they reached out to me. They have a a group for women in their organization. They wanted me to speak, and I said, here's my fee. And they said, oh, we don't have a budget for this. And I'm like, what? First of all, why would you think you would hire a paid speaker and tell me you don't have a budget? But even so, I wouldn't barter with them because of what they do. There's nothing for me to really barter. But I was like, I referred them somebody who was a newbie. So that's kind of like, once you get some experience, you feel more comfortable saying no. I can't, but here's somebody I'm referring, maybe somebody that's a mentee of mine or somebody that I sponsor. Yep. So I'll give a list of 2 or 3 newbies and say, listen, they're just as awesome as I am. They just have less experience. I've been in this industry for 15 years. I have a law firm that I sent out a proposal to. They negotiated like 1/3 of my price. Oh, they tried to. And I said, like, you're lawyers. Like, do you negotiate your price? And they laughed.
Well, and when I get those questions asked of me and they try to negotiate the fee, I mean, I usually say, okay, if my proposal was 20,000 and you're saying you have a budget of 15,000, let me say, here's what I could put together for you for 15,000. Right. And I take out some elements. Yes. Because my value is my value. I stand behind me and I'm prepared to walk away from that. You might be, oh my gosh, you can't walk away from 15,000. Yes, I can. Because
the next person will pay it.
And there have been people before you that have paid that. Yeah. So it's important to understand the value. But I think sometimes you want to, kind of meet in the middle. You always want to feel like you come out of a negotiation like that you've both won. You don't want them to feel like they've beaten you down or you've beaten them down. You want to feel like it's a comfortable kind of scenario.
There's something that I give to my clients, especially after a LinkedIn training, because they don't typically walk away after that 2 or 3 hours with everything done. It's more of like you have all this knowledge and it's overwhelming. Yep. And I break it down, and we do make some big changes on their profile. But I say you have 30-day access to me, and that's a huge value. Can you imagine like learning something and then have 30 days to let it set in and tweak it as you go, and then I'll still help you along the way. So I have like office hours and stuff like that. If they try to negotiate, I take that away first because that's actually more valuable, to be honest. Yeah. And they're like, oh, no, we actually would like that. I'm like, cool. So then now you see how valuable even that is. And they may not even use it. Honestly, like half the people don't even reach out to me. That's why I think it's a super huge value, because they have the access, whether they use it or not, it's on them. But I added that. So this is for newbies too. What'll happen is I instantly say, I will do 3 things for free, right? So as a newbie, 3 to 5 things for free. You at that point have some more confidence, some more experience. You get those testimonials because that's valuable, and you'll be able to market yourself. Like some people will say, I want to be a speaker, but I've never spoken on stage before. Great. Find a sage, tell them you'll speak for free, get tons of photos, get
video if you can.
If you can, of course. Videotape yourself. I can't tell you how many times I've set up a tripod on my table and videotaped myself and just clipped it out or whatever.
Yeah, you got something for your speaker sizzle reel. Yeah.
100%. And then after the 3rd one, I will up my prices. So now that obviously I get paid, I would up my prices. Well, I've done 3. Well, now I've done 6. Well, I've done 9 now. So now I've been doing it for a lot longer. I'm more confident. Even with my coaching, after, I think it's 5, I think in my head, after 5 women say yes to this price, I know it's valuable.
Level it up.
Yeah. Level it up. Yep. And then not only am I looking for like a higher level entrepreneur because they can pay more, typically they do the work more because there's more money invested, right? So the more you invest, the more you actually do the work. So to me, it's all like, kind of like a head game.
I think it's different strategies to employ. As you were talking earlier about your package and have people having access to you 30 days after, I do something similar, but what I do is I do a 30-minute accountability phone call. Nice. I usually try to schedule it. I do similar to you, LinkedIn coaching, and people might be going, why does she have somebody who's a competitor on her show? Because I surround myself with I like to say co-opetition. It's a word I learned from Terry Dean. I can't take credit for it, but I like to surround myself because I learned techniques from Miranda, from people like you. Yeah. And I share my techniques. So what I do is at the end of my coaching call, I say, okay, this package includes a 30-minute accountability phone call. Let's schedule that a month from now. It keeps you accountable to the investment you've made in yourself, gives me a chance to see what you worked on. And also at that point in time, you will have some questions. So if it's like the phone a friend, if that call is coming up, you'll have started to written some things down. And I have some people, they never book it, or they book it and they cancel it. And it's included as a part of the package. And it's just a different technique, but I like how you said 30 days access. It's a different way of that same.
Like, how cool does that sound, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, too, I don't do the call. Well, one-on-one coaching, I'll do a call, but group stuff, they're sending me DMs. And I actually tell them, you have 30 days of access to me, and it has to be through DMs, which gets them on LinkedIn, and they usually laugh. And I'm like, if you call me, well, they don't have my number, but if they, try to get a hold of me through some other social means or email, I won't respond. You have to reach out via LinkedIn to get them on the platform. And then they laugh. It's funny. And then if they say to me, hey, I emailed you, I say, I told you to DM me.
Right. You got it. Well, those are the rules. I love it.
Yeah. And then
I want to shift us to some Q&A. And I did see we had a couple comments that are coming in. I'm going to remind the audience, if you're listening right now, if you have a question for Miranda or something you'd like to add to the conversation, this is your chance right now. Go ahead and drop it into comments. Now, it does take about 30 seconds from the time I say that until they hear it, and then another 30 seconds for them to type it in. So while they are doing that, I see there's one question that came in from Joey. Hey, Joey, how are you doing today, sir? And Joey's asking, Miranda, what's the most important activity that you do to keep you and your business moving forward and growing?
Pray. So it's funny. It's not a strategy, but it is. So my faith is my foundation. So if you're not a faith-filled person, or you're not into like outside factors and influencing your success, look inward, right? So for me, it is my prayer life. I pray every single day. My relationship with my faith is my biggest piece of my foundation. And I will not only pray, but then I will get quiet and be still and listen to what I think is next for me in my business. And I trust my gut, right? So if you're not a faith person, it's meditate, get quiet, be still, and hear the answers from within, and trust yourself. And it's literally the biggest activity I do is my prayer life. And God is a part of my divine board of directors. We're business partners, like all the things, because we're not alone in this world, at least in my world. And for you, it can be a biz bestie, accountability partner, but it's someone to be able to bounce ideas off of. Don't go it alone, right? That's the biggest piece of advice I can give. Don't go it alone. Keep moving forward. Learn from people who are a little bit ahead of you. If you can't afford a coach, that's okay. There's tons of people who give their advice for free. Start following people like Brenda or myself who talk about being entrepreneurs, who put out ideas all the time that you can gain inspiration from. So it's definitely a nice way as a newbie entrepreneur. Don't listen to everybody. That actually may be a bigger piece of advice. Like, listen to people, find one or two that you really jive with, and listen to them and stick with them. Don't listen to everybody, because you'll get conflicting information.
Yeah.
Which is why I pray, because I get pretty much consistent information there.
Yeah, there you go. I think sometimes you got to trust your gut. I remember early on, I wanted pink for my brand color, and I showed it to one of my friends who worked in sales, and she said, don't use pink because you're going to alienate men. Men aren't going to want to work with you. And LinkedIn is blue as a platform, so you should use blue. And I'm like, yeah, it didn't feel right with me. And I'm glad I didn't take that advice. And, I think you got to kind of sort through it. Yeah. I do see Marsha said she loved your feedback about, the website. She's like, hey, I thought I needed a snazzy website to attract, but I'm glad I know this before I signed up. So really great advice. So what we talked about earlier, Marsha, and for others that are listening, is creating a LinkedIn company page. It is free to do so. I have a blog on how to do it. I'm going to drop it into comments right now for people that might be interested in that route. But Marsha really liked that advice from you, Miranda.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. That is definitely something people, they didn't have pages, right, back in the day, or they didn't have pages as, like we talked about, as sexy as they do now. But you definitely, it's free. Why not take advantage of it and put it on your business cards, put it on your email signature, send people to that. And it does almost everything except for take payments.
Yeah, I like it. And I'm going to drop this into, I'm trying to multitask right now. LinkedIn company, how to create a company page on LinkedIn free. I'm trying to type and talk at the same time. Sometimes it works, other times not so much. Sue Griffey says, stage investments as you build your business. LinkedIn company page before a branded website will save you money and time. So agreeing with that philosophy on there. Miranda, I want to start to wrap up our conversation here today, and I'm going to pull your LinkedIn profile up on screen as I ask you, could you just remind us what are the products and services that you offer people, and then how can we get a hold of you if we are interested in learning more about you?
Of course. So as a speaker, I speak on stages about LinkedIn, self-leadership. I actually have a program called Selfie Leadership, which is my favorite, and personal branding. So I'm a speaker. I'm a coach, so I can coach women, life, business, LinkedIn. And so my speaking and my LinkedIn training are open to everyone, but my private coaching for life and business are for women. So I'm a speaker, coach, and a strategist. I also manage company pages. I can help create content, manage your business page, and help you to level up on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn.
There you go. And I may have a referral for you because I used to do company page management, posting, everything like that. And I've moved away a little bit as I'm now shifting to online course development. And I do have a client right now that may be interested in having somebody help them with their company page in terms of posting and content creation. So I will ask the question, and then I might do a little referral and introduction. And that's part of the reason I ask this is, I ask all my guests, what do you, how can we get a hold of you, and what are the services that you do? Because I may have a referral for you, even though we do some similar work in terms of speaking and coaching and things like that. I may be asked to speak at a conference and I'm not able to, and I might be like, oh, but Miranda is something that you want to talk to, right?
Thank you. Absolutely. Same here too. It's funny. I don't do online courses. So when yours is ready, I'll send everybody your way.
Yeah. Send them on over. And I've actually got a couple right now. I've got a boot camp with Brenda that's just wrapping up. It's for LinkedIn for the experience rich job seeker individuals age 50 plus. And I have a company page masterclass and a social selling masterclass. And I'll be relaunching the social selling soon for coaches, consultants, speakers, and authors. So really excited about that. Yeah. So keep those in mind. All right. So any final comments for us, Miranda, on how to bootstrap your business as a newbie entrepreneur?
3 things to remember. Set your foundation, all about yourself, right? Your why, your who you serving, and what are you serving them? What's your expertise and experience? But don't get hung up on expertise, right? Expertise and being an expert are 2 different things. What do you know, and how can you serve your community through that? So foundation. Strategies and structures. You don't have to pay a lot of money to have really good strategies and structures in business. And then accountability. Find a person or a group that you can join that are going where you're going. It can be in your industry or it can be outside of your industry. It could be female entrepreneurs versus LinkedIn trainers. It can be very specific if you like, or it can be pretty broad and they're all going in one direction. Find them. Those are your new people.
I love it. Surrounding yourself with awesome people. This is what I do too. I find awesome people all the time. As we wrap up our conversation today, I want to invite our audience. If you enjoyed the conversation, I want to ask you to do us a favor. Especially if you haven't posted yet on LinkedIn this week, this month, this year, in this past 10 years, even maybe you're looking for something. As soon as you're done watching the video, you're going to see a share button appear at the bottom. Click on share and then share that on LinkedIn and tell people something that you learned by watching, or maybe tell who should watch this video. Watch this video if you're an entrepreneur who's just getting started. Some great tips about websites and accountability and mindset and all that good stuff. If you tag Miranda and myself in your post, remember tag, we use the little @sign. If you tag us in the post, we'll get notified that you've talked about us. And I guarantee both of us will comment back. And all of that really helps to give you some great visibility. You help us, we help you, kind of an approach on there. I love it. And then one final thing as we're wrapping up, I have a little outro video that we'll be playing. I'm talking about in the outro video, Miranda, for the audience that's watching. I created a checklist of 15 LinkedIn profile tips for coaches, consultants, speakers, and authors. So it'll be up on screen, but I'm also going to drop that link into chat if you go to mellermarketing.com/thelist. I'm putting you on the spot right now to ask you, but do you have any free resources or places that people could go to sign up for your email list, or where could we learn more about you?
So if you go to LinkedIn, you'll see the website that you're able to click on right under my name. It says free LinkedIn tips.
Free LinkedIn tips. Awesome. Right over here. I'm going to highlight it up on screen. There you go.
It takes you right to my website. Get on my email. You get it's not just LinkedIn tips, because of all that I do. It's a lot of networking opportunities. I host LinkedIn Local, so I'll invite you to that as well. My next one is actually tomorrow. It's virtual. So anyone's welcome to join. So free networking, free LinkedIn tips, and a lot of life awesomeness.
And if I was the person watching, I would get on, get my list, get Miranda's list, learn as much as you can, because there's probably going to be some overlapping themes, which are good because you're okay, more than one person thinks I should do this. And then you're probably going to learn some different strategies and techniques from both of us. So Miranda, thank you so much. It's been a delight. I feel like it's been such an action-packed hour that we've had the conversation to chat today. It's been a delight. And I hope we get the chance to meet in person someday.
Me too. Where are you? I don't even know where you're located.
Metro Detroit. So you're in Albany, New York. So I'm guessing it might be like at a conference or an event, like maybe we'll be speaking on the stage. But you never know. I mean, if you're ever in the Metro Detroit area, or if I'm ever in the Albany area, we'll definitely look you up.
Yeah, awesome. We'll have to do it soon.
All right. I want to thank our audience. And if you're watching now live, or if you're watching the playback, and if you haven't already left a comment, I would love if you could drop a comment below. The comments let me know that you're watching, because I can see that there are people that are watching right now. I can see there's 17 of you, but I can't see who you are until you leave a comment. So if you could drop a comment below and just say hi, great show, something like that, we would appreciate. That's like our performance reviews, right, Brenda? You can give us some feedback.
If you want to take it to the next level, give us a recommendation for being awesome.
Ooh, I like it. On that note, thank you everyone so much for watching. Stay safe and stay healthy, and we will see you all on LinkedIn. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Take care.
Bye.